Welcome to another episode of Scales of Justice. Today, I am sitting with Vuyo Zungula, who is a member of parliament and the chief leader, parliamentary representative of the ATM.
Party leader of ATM.
Yeah, party leader of the ATM. You see, now I get distorted between you being a president and you being a party leader, and I'm trying to say the politically correct way of describing you. Thank you so much for making the time to come to Scales of Justice.
Always a pleasure, and thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, after chasing you for a very long time, yes, I'm very happy to have you here today. Hey, look, I'll give you a compliment though. You're one of our most accessible leaders, and I think that's a very good quality, and that's what we want in our country, because, you know, we can't afford to have a distance between ordinary citizens and people who are representing us in parliament, notwithstanding which party anyone might subscribe to. I think the dialogue is quite relevant, especially with everything that is happening in our country, which is what I want us to discuss. But before we go into the serious stuff, what would you say South Africans do not know about you? I think maybe everybody knows that you hail from Mthatha, and that you came through as ATM's president from 2019. You've been in parliament, and you're well known for your robust discussions and challenging, you know, state accountability around so many issues. But what is it that people do not know about you?
I'm a very shy person.
Are you?
Very, very shy.
I think I could believe that. But you've been doing a lot of podcasts, so I hope it's going to help you snap out of your shell. Because or is it more like a Beyonce thing? Like you'll forever be shy, but...
It's a work thing. Okay, it's a personality thing. I'm generally a reserved person.
Okay.
However, this work has made me to be what it requires me to be.
Yeah.
I recall this one time I met an old friend of mine.
Yeah.
Like, is this you in parliament who speaks like this? Growing up, you were always shy, reserved, chilled. So I guess it's one of those things in life where you need to adapt.
Yeah.
When a role requires of you to be more robust when you address issues.
Yes.
You need to come out of your shell and be what, you know, it's expected of you so that you can do umsebenzi wakho kakuhle.
Okay. So tell me about that. I find it very interesting. So you're saying you were a very shy child. Did you ever envision politics as a career for yourself?
Not at all. Not at all. I've always been in finance.
Okay.
And also towards the later part of my career in finance, I found that when it comes to strategic management and leadership, I excelled very well there. So I never thought politics.
Okay.
Yes, I did partake in politics.
Yes.
In terms of voting,
yes.
Discourse, in terms of what should happen or where the country should go.
Yes.
But me being there in the podium, being the one speaking.
You never imagined it.
Never imagined it.
I think it's interesting, and we need to talk about that. So what brought about the shift for you? And before we even go to your shift, which political party did you subscribe to when you were not involved in politics and you didn't have your own political party?
I was not a member of any political party.
Okay.
Yes, I did vote in varsity, by the way. I was approached by leaders of AZAPO.
Okay.
The student movement was AZASCO.
Yes.
For me to stand as one of the candidates for SRC elections.
Yes.
But at the time, I had another leadership responsibility, which is TASA, which is Student Christian Organization.
Yes.
From there, it was like, didn't work out.
Okay.
So I could say in varsity, I was more closer to AZASCO than anything.
Okay.
Otherwise, but even when it comes to AZASCO, I did not even end up contesting under them because the leaders at the time said, I need to focus on this particular role, which is TASA, and not take up too many responsibilities at once.
Okay, understandable. Alrighty. So I think, are you subscribing to my voter's secret? Are you ever going to tell me which party did you favor when you were going to the voting ballots back in the day?
Always voted ANC.
Okay.
Yeah, always voted ANC from the first time I voted up until the last time I voted. It has always been ANC.
It's always been ANC.
Because historically and what it stood for. I think majority of people, black people, especially our age, a person would be lying if uzoti they considered other parties. It's only in the later stages when they see developments in the country, they change in terms of the political direction, that they change their political choices. But historically, many black people subscribed either to the PAC or the ANC because of their role they played in the liberation of South Africa.
100%. I think everyone would agree with you on that one. And now I want you to take me through to your thought process when you decide, okay, now I'm not going to be an observer when even a commentator, because all of us end up being that way. If you have a little bit of education, you start taking an interest in current affairs and you have a lot to say about what's happening. What is it that makes you make the decision that now I need to step up, become a leader to a point where you actually make inroads into parliament?
I think it was a case of, firstly, South Africans, whether they like it or not, if you have any view on whether your life or current affairs, you are involved in politics.
Yeah.
The only issue is that maybe other people do not translate their political views into like political direction to say, I've got these views, but now let's channel these views towards this particular objective, which is to make the country better.
Yes.
So for me, it was a case whereby I was always, even with my friends at work, we're always discussing politics, what's happening and how the country should change its ways, etc.
Yes.
Now, when the party was formed, I just happened to be one of those people who was tasked to assist in terms of getting it registered and throughout the formative stages of the party. But I always say to people, sometimes we confine leadership with a leadership position. To an extent whereby if a person is not in a formal leadership position, they don't view themselves as leaders. Whereas leadership is influence. You don't need a leadership position to have influence.
100%.
So even before then, even I was not considering myself as a leader more than a servant, more than a person who's really contributing towards making the country better. So I think that's my thought process when it comes to everything, that sometimes people want these leadership positions and titles, but they do not want the obligation or the responsibility of serving. So if we could have a servant mentality instead of a leader mentality, I think the country would go far, because when you're a servant, you serve people. And when you serve people, you don't need titles. Interestingly, I was reading a book called Leader Without a Title. It resonated a lot with me when it comes to some of the principles that, were spoken about in that book. So for me, I think that is what we should inculcate, especially to young people, because perhaps the older generation, for them, leadership is all about titles.
Yeah.
But for the young ones, we need to teach them that even if you are not in a leadership title position, lead, influence people towards being better versions of themselves and to making the country better.
Okay, I like that. And I've always been a strong and a firm believer of that we are all leaders in our own rights. It starts with something as simple as parenting, because you are shaping a future. But I do have a particular, question around your growth into, the public space. You decide that you're going to be part of a new party that's being registered. You've been voting for ANC. What causes that shift? Because I think most of us, whenever we've contemplated politics, or at least for people who have always voted ANC, you think, okay, let me join the organization I know and try and bring change within the party. What is it that makes you think that there needs to be a different option for South Africans and be part of that party that's being registered, your current political party?
I think it's a case of being, as a voter, you don't shape really that party. They take their own decisions, they go to their own conferences, they decide.
Yeah.
Now, when ATM was formed, from the time of inception up until now, it was very clear about having a values-driven society.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes we miss the importance of values in how society functions.
Yeah.
If I can make an example about corruption, while we speak about corruption, you could have all the tools to fight corruption.
Yes.
Strong SIU, NPA, disclosure, arrangements or agreements or frameworks. But if a person inherently is corrupt, they will always find a ways to beat the system because corruption is inherently in them.
Yes.
So sometimes, it becomes far-fetched to say, if you've got people with the right set of values, even if they know no one is watching, they'll not do wrong because they know it is wrong to do wrong. But with people who are inherently corrupt, even though they know that there are so many systems that are there to watch them from doing wrong, when they are sitting in an office, their thought process is about how do they beat those systems. So how then do we work on the mentality, on the moral character of South Africans so that they get to be, they get to devote themselves into making the country better instead of them actually pushing their corrupt ways. And the argument we're also making is that sometimes it's difficult to say the leaders of South Africa must not be corrupt, whereas the electorate, the citizens themselves are corrupt. Because these leaders don't fall from the sky. They come from our society.
100%.
And because they come from our society, if the society itself is inherently corrupt, it's going to produce corrupt leaders. So those are the conversations we need to have to say, how can we as South Africans take responsibility for our own country, for our own communities, instead of having a mentality these leaders will save us. I'll make an example about something other people take for granted, littering. Some communities, you just going like, it's filthy.
Yes.
The people who are living in these communities, why aren't they taking care of themselves? Because others, for example, they mess up their own community and then they expect, let's say, the municipality to come and bring, things to clean. Whereas they are the one who've been causing the mess. So it's a case of how then do we encourage people, inculcate values whereby people take better decisions instead of taking bad decisions. And then we invest so much in terms of punishing the people who are making bad decisions.
And I have a question about that. As you are talking about cultivating, the right attitude, moral fiber, as I understand, and if my research is correct, the cornerstone of ATM is that it is influenced by Christian values. And then there's the Pan-Africanism also, that's a part of it. And I can understand why that would be when you talk about, having interacted with organizations like AZASCO. Now, jumping to 2026, do you think Pan-Africanism still has space in South Africa? And okay, my question is a bit multifaceted, so you'll have to be patient with me on this one. First and foremost, how do you reconcile the idea of Christianity and Pan-Africanism? Because when you think about Pan-Africanism, it also talks about pride in being an African and the traditions that are associated with that. So now, as just a modern being, and you have Christianity and the notion of Pan-Africanism, how do you reconcile these two ideologies? Because I think a lot of people do struggle with that identity, just being African. Today, you'll have to go through a part where they say, what does it mean being Black and being African? And what does Christianity mean to us? So how do you reconcile the two?
So the values that we subscribe to, they are universal.
Okay.
our values, it's peace, ubuntu, servant leadership, transformation, accountability. Those are the values where you can't tie down to a particular faith, a particular institution. Even people who don't subscribe to any religion or any ideology, they'll tell you ubuntu, because ubuntu, for example, is a way of life. In other parts of the world, they'll call it something different. But if you were to look at it at a principle level, it is something that is universal. So hence you find that from a values point of view, it's very rare for people to look at what the values we subscribe to and say, but I don't agree with these values. And when we got to Parliament, because a lot of people were actually cautious and said, we want to see how you guys are going to actually play your role. It's well and good to campaign, but we'll see how you get to Parliament. When we got to Parliament, we're like, okay, this is what the problem is. Therefore, ours is to just say, this is what we understand the problem to be. This is what we understand the consequence as a result of the problem. And then this is the solutions. So we've never had a point whereby we impose a certain religion or a certain doctrine. Instead, we've been approaching politics driven by these values. For example, what's topical now, the issue of Phala Phala. It's more on accountability. The issue of the economy is more on having peace, because you can't have peace in a society with such inequality levels, such unemployment and poverty levels. Therefore, when we're saying transform the economy, it's because we want to live in a peaceful society. You can only get peace when people share on their resources, on sharing the economy. You can't preach peace. You can pray peace for peace as much as you want. But if the material conditions on the ground are those of unemployment, poverty, and inequality, it's going to be difficult. Instead, you are going to get the opposite of peace. So that is why our approach then as a party was to be as pragmatic as possible. And a lot of people relate with our approach because we're not speaking ngendlela that is so far detached from people's lived experiences.
Okay. But I want to check and challenge you. I hear that other part, but let's talk a bit about Pan-Africanism as I understand it. You know, I was a scholar of history. I loved it very much. And the way I understood Pan-Africanism as, you know, the leaders of the past would talk about it, they would say Africa for Africans. And this is going to the core of issues maybe people shy away from talking about. When we say Africa for Africans in 2026, does it not come across as if African people are taking a racist posture and are saying that we want Africa to be purely African? That's what I'm trying to also reconcile with modern society. How do you define Pan-Africanism now in 2026 as we continue building a country forward?
Look, if you're to read the books of Steve Biko.
Yes.
So when he speaks
I write what I like.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when he speaks about Africa for Africans, his notion was to say, if you were to go to a European country, you will get Africans living there. Maybe having citizenship of those countries. But when you look at the infrastructure, look at the entire country, it is very clear that it's a European country. But when you come to South Africa, if we are being specific, even though it's an African country, how is the life of natives in South Africa? It does not give an impression that firstly, it is a country that is a reflection of their morality, a reflection of their customs and traditions. Instead, you are going to have a South Africa that appears to have imported traditions, norms from far parts of the world. Our constitution is based on international documents, international constitutions. Our way of life, the manner in which we take decisions. For example, Parliament is modeled on the British Parliament. So that is the true nature of South Africa. So I think the understanding of Africa for Africans, it is not just a case of saying that only Africans must be in South Africa. But it's a case of saying the country, its infrastructure, its morality, and how the country functions it must be born out of the values, out of the traditions, out of the aspirations of Black people, because it's their country.
Yes.
You can't go, no matter how you can try, you can't go to Switzerland, for example, and you want to impose yourself as an African to say that is how, that is how things should happen in that country.
Yeah.
You go there, you assimilate to the culture of that particular country.
Yeah.
But when the very same people from England, the Dutch, come to South Africa, they don't need to assimilate because they've created outposts, Dutch or British outposts in South Africa. So that is the distinction.
Okay. No, fair. I understand. I accept that explanation. I'm very comfortable with it in 2026. Now let's go back to Africa being for Africans in a way. That means that we are accountable and we have accountable leaders. And my research showed me that you were very involved or instrumental in asking for accountability around the Phala Phala issue, which is now back in the media because there's been this recent judgment that says, Parliament did not honor, the purpose of Section 89 of the Constitution in keeping, our president accountable. How do you feel about that decision, and what are your hopes around that? In the backdrop of that outcome from the Constitutional Court?
What we are going to work on, it's more on transparency and accountability.
Yes.
Because once you occupy public office, you need to be accountable for each and everything that you do.
Okay.
Because public office, you are given public power.
Yes.
Public power whereby a person can get to decide whether there's going to be a lockdown or not.
Yes.
They've got so much authority to decide even on such things, to say, okay, lock down, everyone at home.
Yes.
Therefore, it becomes important, therefore, for people to really scrutinize the people with public power.
Yes.
Because of the level of influence and authority they have over our lives.
Yeah.
And with the case of Phala Phala, it becomes very, very tricky. Because if, for example, someone were to visit your house, let's say it's an old friend, someone you grew up with, if they were to see large volumes of cash, what would come through their mind?
Yeah.
They would think, okay, there's some form of criminal activity.
That's happening.
Because generally, large volumes of cash, especially if you are not in the business, you're not in a cash-based business, it signifies some form of criminality.
Yeah.
It's even worse when it's foreign currency.
Yes.
So it always raises those questions.
Yes.
Now, the issue with Phala Phala is that there is this foreign currency that has not been declared.
Yes.
That gets to be stolen.
Yes.
After it's stolen, there is a rogue investigation that's done.
That happens. Yes.
It's not. There's no case that's opened.
Yes.
It's a rogue operation done by someone who is trusted by the president.
Yes.
And then when this person does this rogue operation, he interrogates people, kidnaps people,
yes,
bribes people, tortures people. And when a whistleblower comes and informs South Africans about this, it's only then they start opening a case.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when this investigation interacts with the Namibian counterparts, they say the matter must be handled with discretion because of the fallout it would cause in South Africa.
Okay.
And the last issue here is that the issue of Phala Phala is an issue of how state institutions were run to advance the private interests of a president. So that is the nature of what transpired in Phala Phala, which then warrants that people, they must satisfy themselves that their president is no way involved in criminal networks, is no way involved in anything that would compromise their life, because he's given so much power. Like now, he determines who the judges are.
Yes.
He determines the international policy. He determines who becomes a minister or not a minister. And I can tell you for sure, if, for example, he makes you to be a minister, if you, let's say you're a minister of energy, and we need to have a nuclear power station, there's no way something that will cost trillions or billions will not consult with him. That's how much power he has.
Yes.
So because of the power that he has, it needs to be scrutinized whether is he exercising that power for the public good or for his own private interest.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the president is afforded so much resources. Firstly, once you become a president, you have your salary for life. So even if, let's say, 10 years later, in parliament, they decide to increase the salary of a president, all living president salaries are going to go up.
Yeah.
Because you are paid the same salary as a person who is currently in office. And at the same time, you've got so many advisors to an extent whereby at any given time, let's say there's a medical situation.
Yeah.
The state has employed your own private doctor to take care of you.
Yeah.
If there is a legal situation, the state has employed someone to advise you on such legal issues.
Yeah.
So he's not a person who is not without resources.
Yes.
Therefore, the entire thing that happened in Phala Phala, it was not because he got bad advice. It's a case of really asking questions. What really transpired there?
Yes.
And should we be worried as South Africans that our president could be involved in something he should not be involved in?
No, it certainly does leave a lot to be desired. And I have questions around that because you just mentioned that, when this thing comes to light, then suddenly there's some action and even around opening a criminal complaint, which was done by Arthur Fraser. So, my perception of the matter, and you can correct me on this one, was that it wasn't taken too seriously because of Arthur Fraser's affiliation to Jacob Zuma, his work around the spy tapes and all of that people felt that maybe he's attacking the current president. But from what you are saying as well, is there a question around whether he acted because the information became public to say his filing a criminal complaint, although it wasn't a charge? So which stance would you take around that?
I want to say there's an idea of a Cyril Ramaphosa.
Yes.
That was painted as soon as he came in.
Yes.
2018.
Yes.
When he became president.
Yeah.
He was seen as this constitutionalist who was involved in the drafting of the constitution.
Yes.
Involved in CODESA.
Yes.
Went to do business. He's rich. He won't steal money. That's
definitely 100% what we all thought.
That is what Umandashe even said.
Yeah.
So they've always painted him as this perfect being.
Yes.
Ethical leader, transparent, and etc.
Yes.
So people ordinarily would not expect wrongdoing on his side.
Yeah.
Even when he was campaigning on the ticket of ethical leadership, new dawn, reforms,
yes,
etc. Now, when Arthur Fraser goes there, people then, because there is this angel that has been painted, now Arthur Fraser is exposing this angel that, okay, the person that has been positioned to you guys as an angel might not necessarily be an angel.
Yeah.
Here are the facts.
Yes.
Because Arthur Fraser went to the police station with facts.
Yes.
And each and every day, those facts are being proven.
Yes.
For example, issued a report saying people were bribed, people were tortured, which confirms what Arthur Fraser said.
Yes.
People were initially saying, but no, he's lying, they were not dollars. Even Ramaphosa said, yes, there were dollars.
Yes, he has.
So there's nothing that Arthur Fraser alleged now which has been proven otherwise. So the issue that we face in our South African society, people do not look at issues as per issues. They look at personalities.
Yeah.
For example, if you were to say substitute Ramaphosa with Zuma, Phala Phala with Nkandla, I can tell you now, there could be matches left, right and center.
Yeah.
Because in people's minds, Zuma was painted in a certain way and Cyril was painted in a certain way. When he spoke sometime last week, he had a press briefing. I don't believe this thing that is a family meeting.
Yeah.
It's a press briefing where a president is supposed to be accounting to the nation.
Yes.
He spoke about how he's not guilty.
Yes.
There's a part where he's saying the people who are actually fighting him are the people who are against his reforms. Now, if you're to think about it, why is he trying to deflect? Because if you're not guilty, you provide evidence to the contrary. If I make an allegation that there was the 580,000 that was stolen in your farm was actually more, and here's the proof, you need to bring proof to say, actually, what was stolen, it is this amount. Yena, he's not provided any evidence to counter what has been said. Instead, he's been fighting Parliament from holding him accountable. And what is problematic here is that a president is elected by Parliament.
Yes.
He accounts to Parliament.
Yes.
There's only one institution where the president accounts to. It's only Parliament.
Yes.
So to have a president now, that's a constitutionalist, as people say, is fighting tooth and nail for an inquiry. You know what an inquiry helps? Because an inquiry affords the president to say, I'll have an opportunity to clear my name, to provide all of the evidence. He does not want any of that. The question is why? Because any person that has been accused of something would rather go to a process that will give him an opportunity to clear his name instead of running away and then people having that thing, you still have unanswered questions.
Yes.
Because pre this ruling, remember, people but we're still not sure about Phala Phala.
Yes.
Even now, 6 years later, we're still not sure because he's not given answers that would give South Africans confidence to say, all right, we are satisfied with your answers. So that is the crisis in which we are facing, that people do not look at the facts, do not look at what's on hand. Instead, people attach personalities.
Yeah.
I was reading an article saying, do South Africans treat DA ministers differently on the question of accountability and good governance as opposed to ANC leaders? Because, we come from a time of apartheid, whereby anything that was white was seen to be right.
Yes.
Anything that was black was seen to be wrong. That was the perception, the narrative.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at our country now, anything that is coming from, I could say, progressive parties, pro-transformation parties, it is always questioned. Their intentions are always questioned. But once you listen to anything that is somewhat closer to the whiteness of the DA, people give them a pass. Now, it's part of the historical issues that we face in our country, whereby people are made, therefore, to question izinto of abantu abamnyama and maybe give a pass to, I could say, people who are seen to be on the side of whiteness.
Yeah.
So Ramaphosa, on the scale of the people, he's seen to be more closer to whiteness than to umdu that is pro-transformation. Because when you speak about transformation, ukuba land expropriation, the mineral wealth must benefit the people, the economy must be transformed to benefit black people. The narrative that will be there media-wise is that you are backward, you are taking the country back. But if you come with these nice terms of public-private partnerships, instead of building state capacity, you take the capacity or the role of the state, you give it to the private sector, people give you a pass. So essentially, that's what we're dealing with here.
No, I understand. And it's quite interesting you should say that, because my question around President Cyril Ramaphosa is, when you think about the Phala Phala scandal, it comes out in 2022. And at this stage, ANC is still occupying a more powerful position in Parliament. And, going back to the events of 2024, July 2024, where, the GNU is entered into. And now with the 2026, with the Phala Phala issue basically being eligible for being revisited within Parliament, would you think his position is weakened from a protection perspective by the GNU, or is it strengthened? Because looking at it as an ordinary citizen, I would think he had a stronger position to be protected in 2022 than he is now. But I'm also listening to you saying he's closer to whiteness than anything else. Would you think his position is weakened or strengthened by the GNU at this stage?
The leader of the DA last week went on air, said he received phone calls from business saying that they as a DA must protect Ramaphosa.
Oh.
So that actually shows you that even the business that people respect and admire, that they are ethical, they are not corrupt, when there's clear wrongdoing, they're the ones who are mobilizing forces behind the scenes to protect someone from being held accountable.
Yeah.
Because the call to hold Mr. Ramaphosa accountable is not to destroy him. It's not to discredit him, but we're holding him accountable on the manner in which he exercises public power. That is the first instance. The second instance, that you're going to have parties who want to be in government because blue lights for some leaders, those blue lights, they make people to change because pre-2024, 2022, parties were vocal about this Phala Phala thing, but now they've changed. And if you check what has changed on their side, is that they are now in government. They're now enjoying.
They've got access to some perks.
Access to power, benefits, etc. So this JNU arrangement now gives an opportunity for citizens to see who of the leaders are actually pro the truth, pro principle, instead of leaders who just flow with the wind and at the same time they are in parliament or in politics for self-enrichment. Because the parties that are now changing for self-enrichment, you can't trust them because it means they can easily betray South Africans, if it's beneficial to them. So by the manner in which things are going now, look, there was the court case on Friday. I struggled to see parties actually commenting about the rule of law, the constitution. Yet the statement of intent they signed with the GNU, it's more pro-constitution, more pro the rule of law. However, it was nowhere to be seen. So the crisis that is there is that pre-2024, remember there was that discussion about patronage in the ANC.
Yes.
Now, that patronage network is no longer an ANC issue. It's much more a multi-party issue whereby other parties are now part of that patronage in the sense that they turn a blind eye to the wrongs done by the ANC and its leaders simply because they want to remain in office. And the other thing that has been pushed in the media, which is so wrong, they say, yes, Ramaphosa might have done something wrong. However, we don't want the prospect of another person becoming president because that person could be worse off. So it's a case of we'll give Ramaphosa a pass, meaning we'll not hold him accountable because we fear that another person who can come through could be worse off than Ramaphosa. Another narrative is to say, okay, sure, fine, he's done something wrong, but is there someone else that can come in to be president? I was reading even the acting minister of police saying that if Ramaphosa were to be impeached, the country would collapse, which is a lie. Beki was removed. Zuma was removed. There was no crisis. The country is bigger than an individual. Even this JNU coalition should be bigger than an individual called Utatu Ramaphosa because we need to have coalitions that are based on solid agreements. We need to build institutions that are role-based instead of personality-based. So any admission by these voices to say any action taken against Ramaphosa would lead to a collapse, it shows exactly why he should leave. Because he can't be president for 8 years, not build institutions that can outlive him, institutions that will follow the law instead of bending rules to suit him. The fact that now institutions, instead of following the prescripts of the law, instead those institutions bend the law to cater and protect him, it's the reason why he should not be president.
I think that's very profound. And I like what you said about a leader should be able to create institutions that can outlive their personality. And we can't afford to have a country that is attached to that. That is something we want to probe and watch what happens, post the outcome of the Constitutional Court, decision on the Phala Phala matter. Another, topic of concern, and this is my opinion, not yours. I felt like the president was being very tone deaf to the situation of the alleged xenophobia against South Africans, if we are still talking about open borders. And this is where also I have a question for you, because again, if I look at ATM and the Pan-Africanist ideology that influences part of the party's posture, do you feel that South Africans are xenophobic right now?
Not at all.
Yeah.
South Africans have never been xenophobic.
Okay.
And if you were to look at the word xenophobia, you'll find that it means a certain thing. Now, if you look at South Africans, what they're advocating for,
yes,
to say, let's have a proper control of immigration.
Yes.
And let's ensure that the people that come in the country come in legally, and the ones that have come in illegally, they must be assisted to go home.
Yeah.
Secondly, when it comes to employment, like it is done in all countries, allow South Africans to have a first bite. Only when you can't find a South African to do that work, you can give an opportunity to someone who's not a South African. Even when you give them, they must have a skills transfer program whereby within a certain period of time, they transfer that skill to a local. When it comes to businesses, to say some of the entry-level businesses must be assisted, must be cordoned off for South Africans.
Yes.
It is something that's done all over the country. All over the world. The issue, therefore, that you face is that then the word xenophobia, it is a word that is used to silence South Africa's genuine concerns on immigration. And I always make this assertion to say, if South Africa is generally a violent country, in the sense that, according to the SAPS report, over 65 people are murdered daily. When foreigners are going to be at the receiving end of that, it can't be said it's xenophobic because generally there's a crime problem in the country.
Yes.
It can't be okay when South Africans are at the receiving end. However, when it's a foreigner that's at the receiving end, now it's as if it's hatred towards a certain nationality or group. It is not true. Secondly, once you talk about the issues pertaining to migration in our country, people don't want to look at the facts. They just want to silence people. You are going to have very, very strong voices to say they won't even want to listen to what are the facts, because I travel a lot, not only in the continent, but even in other continents. The laws are very clear and they are followed.
Yes.
Now, I don't know why they want South Africa to be like a banana republic where the laws are not really followed.
Yeah.
And the issue here again is that I grew up in a township called Ekzuwa. We unfortunately had something called Ichachalaza.
Okay.
So Ichachalaza was when a criminal is doing something wrong, you'll ordinarily report to the police.
Okay.
Once report, second time, report, third time. If the police do not act, the community acts on their own.
Okay.
Similarly, if you check the conflict between foreigners and South Africans, it is largely because one foreigner has raped a 13-year-old. Another one is selling drugs. Another one is selling expired foods.
Yes.
It's not a case whereby these people who are just targeting people are saying we want this
for no reason.
Yeah, for no reason. There's no one who goes around the country saying we are looking for Nigerians. Rather, you are going to have a case whereby there's suspicions of drug trade and therefore they're going to target that particular person. Then other Nigerians then decide, you know what, we're going to protect this Nigerian simply because it's Nigerian or maybe simply because they are friends.
Yeah.
Then they make it out to be, they mischaracterize deliberately so to say it's xenophobic. Otherwise, it is a lie that South Africans are xenophobic. South Africans have always interacted and lived peacefully with people coming from all over the world. Africans. I remember when I was in primary, our teachers were coming from Ghana, Uganda, and to an extent whereby even in some of the what did they call those days where we don't wear uniform, Ghanaian? Civis.
Yes.
Yeah, some of the civis days.
Civis day. Yeah.
Would wear, people would wear, or kids would wear clothes that have been designed by Ghanaian designers. So that's how welcoming South Africans have been. South Africans are not tolerant of criminality.
Yeah.
That is the honest truth. However, they give an opportunity to law enforcement to take care of a problem. If law enforcement fails, then South Africans step in.
Okay. I agree with you on that one, but I want to take you back to the so-called xenophobic attacks in 2008. I think we were all quite young, and I think that's where the term comes from. Would you say even in 2008, it wasn't xenophobia? You know, like as a young South African at the time, being exposed to people from other countries, I don't think I fully understand what was motivating that. I think it's very clear now in 2026 when you look at what's happening, that South Africans are absolutely not xenophobic. But when you look back in 2008, your recollection of that, would you think the term then was somewhat justified, or it's just never been a valid position?
In 2008, I remember I was at Gqeberha. What we saw or read was that there's a young boy who tried to rob a store of a foreign national.
Yes.
And then the foreign national then ended up shooting the boy.
Okay.
So it's a case whereby, firstly, two wrongs do not make it right.
Yeah.
The boy was wrong trying to rob.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the response from that foreign national is that you can't be shooting a young boy like that.
Yeah.
And then it led then to violence, to say they are going to ban that particular shop.
Okay.
Now, the unfortunate part is that some of the genuine struggles of South Africans get to be hijacked by criminal elements.
Yeah.
So you would then have criminal elements who then go out looting, go out actually banning for the sake of causing criminality.
Yes, and so, it became widespread.
It became widespread.
Yeah.
But it was not something that is said that they are just wanting to target foreigners.
Yeah, it was a retaliation. Happy about that. So tell me something. Do you feel that this discourse around immigrants in the country, is it symptomatic of a system failure, particularly, you know, that would fall under the justice system failure, because, you know, our borders should be effectively managed? Does it speak to the bigger problem that you're mentioning around our governance?
Yeah, there's a failure of government, because if the government would have proper systems, we would not be where we are now.
Yeah.
And as you've correctly taken us back to 2008,
yeah,
what would a progressive government think? In 2008, here's a crisis that became so widespread.
Yes.
What are the people, put aside the instance
and it resulted in about, I think, 65 people dying, which is almost equivalent to the Sharpeville massacre. So that should have sent a message already to our government. But yeah, let you continue.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a government then would be like, okay, put aside the incident of this shopkeeper and killing of this boy.
Yes.
But what is the other issues that are at play here? People are concerned about migration, which is not controlled, etc.
Yes.
Now, it would not take 20 years for them to actually sort it out, because instead of sorting it out, they've allowed the crisis to get worse and worse.
Yes.
You know, we stay in Gauteng. I think this year already, I've read or seen in the news over 3 or 4 times that there are Ethiopians that are found in a house in Springs or found in a house in Centurion. There's 40, 50 of them holed up in one house. There
was the Bryanston scandal not so long ago.
Exactly.
Yes.
Where do those people end up? They end up in communities somewhere. Now, obviously, it's going to put a strain, because clearly South African government has not dealt with the problem. Hence, you find that from time to time we hear about what's happening. And also, currently Home Affairs has got about 832 immigration officers.
Yeah.
In a country of 62 million people, and the estimated number of illegal or undocumented foreigners is estimated to be millions, but only 832 people are employed by the state to ascertain the status of people living in South Africa, whether they're in the country legal or not illegal. Meaning, when companies or when the Department of Labor inspectors go to, let's say they come here to inspect that who is working here, do you have papers? It means only 832 people from Home Affairs are legally mandated to provide such a service.
Yeah.
Now, it's incapacitation that's intentional, because had it been intentional, there's no way in which you could have such a low number. That is why, as a party, we even called that there is this back and forth when it comes to Amapanyaza. Why not train and convert Amapanyaza to be immigration officers? Because if South Africans were seeing immigration officers actually doing their work and a high number of immigration officers that are visible, I don't think they would be protesting this much, because they know that the government is taking care of things.
Okay. Yeah, we can agree and align on the fact that the bigger issue is effective and consistent governance. I think it wouldn't be fair to say everything is bad, but it would be fair to say we are lacking in consistency. And when consistency is lacking, you see a collapse in the structures. And I want to take you back to what you said also about everyone being a leader. I think you started that. You stepped out and you joined a party and has become something bigger than yourself in terms of having impact and influence. And that would be the call to action to the rest of South Africans, that we are not going to get any heroes coming in to save us. And with that said, as we come to the conclusion of our discussion today, what's your biggest dream for South Africa at this stage?
I dream of a South Africa where all South Africans enjoy their lives. South Africa that is free from poverty, unemployment, crime. A South Africa where race is not a determinant whether a person enjoys a quality of life, a good quality of life or not.
Yeah.
A South Africa whereby leaders are held accountable, and those that occupy public office, they know that they are servants of the people, and therefore they need to serve the people. A country whereby we prosper. When you watch or read stories about some other countries whereby they even tell you that their prisons are more like five-star hotels. That's how developed they are.
Yeah.
To an extent whereby when you leave prison, there's already a job waiting for you. We can get there. If we were to look at in the primitive years, how the England that people admire now, how it was with the disease and how the country was backward back then. If you were to look now, they managed to do it. So not all countries. Look at China, for example. Before 1990, I think it had over 500 million, if I'm not mistaken, that were living in poverty. Now, if you talk about China, the level of poverty have got down from that 500 million to be way less. I think it's less than 5 million people that are in poverty in China as compared to before. So leadership can turn things around. The country can be turned around.
Yeah.
And South Africans, they must not give up. We've got a certain fighting spirit as South Africans, that we confront our problems.
Yes.
Even when people went to exile, they were not running away from South Africa. They were going there for training so that they come back to fight.
And fight for the country.
So we need to fight for our country. We need to fight for our children, because the people that will inherit this country, it's our children, unfortunately. If we leave, if we don't fight for them, we have condemned our own children into the poor state of affairs that we see in other countries. So we need to fight, and we need to dream that as South Africa, whereby there could be no poverty can exist.
Yeah.
A South Africa where there is no crime can exist.
Mm-hmm.
And we must make it a point that in the years God has given us on this earth, let us fight to make the world a better place, so that when we go back to our ancestors, go back to God, we can be able to say, we've done our part. I think it is, if you as a human being, you come to this world and you leave this world without making it better, I think like you've wasted your space in this world. There's people, you don't need to be in politics to make the world a better place. There are people either in sports, entertainment, academia, who are making the world a better place. So in any corner that we are in, strive to make South Africa a better place. And no matter the difficulty, stay strong and never allow yourself to be persuaded from not loving your country, because we need to be patriots. Patriotism is not a case of a citizen and a foreigner.
Yes.
Patriotism means if you are a teacher, you need, when you enter that classroom teaching your learners there, understand that you are teaching the next presidents of this country. You are teaching the next members of parliament. Therefore, give it your best, give it your all. Don't do it because you just want a paycheck. Do it because you are doing a service to the country.
Yeah.
If you are a nurse at a clinic, don't serve people with attitude.
Yes.
Just know that you are doing a service to your country by serving those people. When you are a policeman, don't take bribes. Don't go around destroying dockets.
I wanted to laugh at the policemen not taking bribes.
Yeah, because it's so widespread now.
Yes,
dockets are sold left, right, and center, simply because they're not patriotic. Patriotism means if you are playing a certain role, you do it thinking about the best interests of the country.
Yeah.
That is, in a nutshell, my dream for South Africa.
Thank you so much, Vuyo, for coming here. And there you have it, Scales of Justice viewers. This is what we are about. Today we're talking about becoming the leaders that we want to see. We can't wait for other people to change the country. Vuyo has done it. I've also stepped out of my comfort zone, and I said, as a legal practitioner, there's a lot that needs to be said, but changing the country doesn't end and begin with conversation. We talk about it, but we need to get into a space where we practically implement those ideas that are God given to us to making a change. So being a patriot, as Vuyo has said, is stepping out of your comfort zone, and even within your comfort zone, be it your profession, whatever you are doing, make sure you do it very well and that you're an ambassador of the country and you understand that every single thing that you do impacts other lives. It's only us who can make this country what we need it to be. We are calling out everything that is flawed with the criminal justice system, but we understand truly in the space that it also starts with moral, ethical, accountable leadership. And Vuyo, thank you for joining us to drive the conversation forward, and all the best going into the elections and all the work that's going to come with that leading up to November this year.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay.
If this is my camera, please like, please subscribe, please share.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's very important, especially for young people, to have conversations that are building.
Yes.
Conversations that are constructive.
Yes.
Because unfortunately, the future belongs to us.
100%.
And if we don't take part in constructive conversations that make the future to be a future that we can be proud of, we've got no one to blame but ourselves. So thank you for having a platform in which young people, and in fact anyone and everyone, can partake in constructive conversations about our country.
Yes, absolutely. And you heard it from Vuyo, guys. Like, subscribe, circulate, make it go viral. There's a lot that needs to be done in this country. We are tired of podcasts that are just talking about the petty culture and gossip. We need to talk about what's happening in the country. Until next time, see ya.
Thank you.